Hi, this is Gaurav, and in this video we will see the call flow by using the call studio element, DialogflowIntent and DialogflowParam. As we saw in the previous videos, Dialogflow element is used where we want to give the maximum control to the Dialogflow application, and the agent's logic is in Dialogflow. But if you want to control the application in your call studio, or you want to extend your existing call studio application to support to provide you the logic of NLU, then you can use these two elements. So I will first go through what are the elements and what are their properties, and then we will see how the flow works. So first element we have is the DialogflowIntent. So you can see that I have a sample application, and the sample application in this case is the DF remote. You can get this application from the GitHub of CVP, which is hosted on DevNet, in the customer virtual assistant folder of the DevNet URL. You can get the application DF remote, which is the sample application I'm showing you. So in this flow, you can see that I have the DF intent at the central place. So the difference between these two element, DF intent and DF param, is the DF intent element you will use when you want to get the intent from the customer. So let's say you prompt what can I do for you, and then customer says something through which you identify the intent. And for the intent you want to get the incomplete parameters, for that you can use the DialogflowParam element. So let's say if you want to say the customer wants to check his balance, so customer says I want to check my savings account balance. So in this case the intent is checking balance, and the parameter here is savings account. So if he has provided the savings account, this element should be capable of filling the value as well as solving your intent completely. But let's say if your intent is not complete because customer just said I want to check balance, and you want to ask the question what type of account, then you will use the another element, DialogflowParam, for that. So we'll go in detail how do you use them individually. Before that, we go to the element specification details for the DF intent. So service account ID, as we saw in the previous element where you used Cisco SS9G Dev 9GKV, like that you can use same thing here as well. Like this we can use it, and we can paste it. All right, so service account ID is the service account ID of the Dialogflow agent. Voice input mode here is voice. The one benefit of using this element is you can use DTMF and voice both. So when you say DTMF and voice, in that case, you can take the input in DTMF by providing the DTMF grammar, and voice by using the NLU. However, you should use in both mode only for the DTMF DialogflowParam element, because there you are taking the actual input to fill in a param. For the DF intent element, you should use voice so that you can get the intent from the Dialogflow. So other parameters like no input, max no input, max no match, termination character are same as the Dialogflow element. Max input time, final silence, all are same. Phrase hint is something which is added in this particular element, where you can mention some of the hints. So this hints is available in all the elements except Dialogflow, because Dialogflow matches the hint from the entities you have provided. But in this call flow, you don't have entities, and the entities are maintained at Call Studio level. So if you want to provide the hint for recognition, you can provide hints here. Uh, Another thing is the languages. So if you want to detect the language from the phrase customer has spoken, then there's a possibility of enabling the language. You can provide the languages in the comma separated way here in the format like en-us. So that's the ISO format, and the details of this is provided in the element specification guide. You can get the details from there. Let me go there and quickly show you. So in Dialogflow element, you have the details given. So you can provide the alternate languages. In the BCP47 format, which is the comma separated way. So once you add, then the secure logging is same. So other than the default parameters, there are some other custom parameters, as we saw for Dialogflow elements also. There were some custom parameters. You can have a look at them. So you can mention same as the Dialogflow element: payload, time zone, geolocation, and session entity types, sentiment analysis request, hints. Alternate languages is right now moved from the custom elements to the main elements, so that you can use it directly without mentioning the property separately. So these are the properties which we have used for that DF intent. We will go through another element, that is DialogflowParam. So as I mentioned to you earlier, that when you want to take value input for a specific param, you will use this. So in this case, what I have done, the customer is prompted what you want to do, and then customer selects some intent. You check the intent from by using a decision box, and then take the control to, let's say, check balance, or you want to transfer money kind of thing. And when you go to check balance here, you have to create a element which is DialogflowParam element. In this element, you have certain extra parameters. So let's say you have in this, I have selected input mode as DTMF plus voice, and the DTMF format I have given as a single digit input. So with this, you can take the input, the customer can speak, or he can give the input by pressing the DTMF as well. You have a few additional thing you have to do is you have to tell that this particular value is for this intent. So since we came here through the check balance intent, you have to map it, and you also have to tell that variable it is linking to. So in Dialogflow, you have the variable name, the params you have provided. So you have to link that param to this variable. Once it is linked, the values will be associated directly. Let's say the customer speaks that I want to check the balance of my savings account. So if he speaks that way, then the Call Studio will fill that value in this variable automatically, and this particular prompt will not be asked. So let's say here I have given the prompt like which type of account balance you want to check. So this prompt will not be prompted if the customer has already given that value. But if that value is not available and then you come through this flow, then the prompt will be asked, the value will be collected, and then through the decision box you can do the subsequent option of processing. Let's say if it is savings account or current account, then accordingly you can pronounce the balance by using the DTS. So this is the logic of your DialogflowIntent and Dialogflow parameters. This is how you can use them. Another parameter here is the last parameter. So last parameter is something which you can use to define. If it is the last parameter, then your flow after this parameter will go back to your df intent. So then let's say your last value is accepted, then you will continue like with continue from the df intent by asking like what else you can do, because you have taken all the parameters. Your control will go back to the root from where you can ask the next intent what the customer wants to do. So you can enable, if this is the last parameter in your list, then you can set it to true. In my case, since in this flow this was the last parameter, I have set it to true. And in, let's say in transfer money, I wanted to ask multiple questions to the customer, and I have set last parameter to the last input in this intent what I want to ask. All right, and let's say this is the amount I am interested in, and we discussed about the phrase hints. So phrase hints is more relevant here. So when I'm asking amount, I am giving a hint to the recognition engine that I am recognizing a money. So Google has documented different combination for that, what kind of hints you wanted to provide. So different combinations are given. You can go through them and point them accordingly. So like this, application can be created with the combination of df intent and df param. The big picture, if you want to understand here from the flow point of view, is that for multiple intents, you are asking for the intent, you're going to the specific parameter, asking the parameter's value, and then coming back to the df intent to continue the flow. Meanwhile, in the flow, it is possible that customer, let's say at some point of time, changes the intent. So for example, you are in a place where you're asking transfer date, something like when do you want to transfer, or let's say you are asking how much you want to transfer, and the customer at that point of time says how much money do I have. So that means your intent is changed, and you're asking, you're going to another intent. So then in the DialogflowParam element, you have another exit state, that is intent change, and intent change will take you back to your df intent. So now since your intent is changed, intent is check balance, so now your previous intent, which is transfer money, is already in progress, and you have changed the intent. Now you process the check balance intent by providing all the parameters. Customer will be given this flow once it is completed. After completing this flow, the previous value, let's say in while processing the transfer money, you have provided the input for 2 or 3 variables already. You should not be asked same question again. So we came till like how much money do I have, how much money you want to transfer. So then if you go to the same intent again by telling that I want to transfer money, those questions which are asked already will not be asked, and directly the next question which will be asked is how much money you want to transfer. And then after giving this value, your transaction is done. Since your all variables in this flow is completed, you can then complete the intent by doing the fulfillment text and processing it and then continuing. So like this, you can handle the change intent as well in this flow. So important thing here is that there are two logics which is happening. One is the change intent and one is the variables which are already filled. These are taken care by the Dialogflow application. So if the variable is already filled, it will not be asked, and your next subsequent item in the list will be asked. One more thing you have to see is, since your elements are your service account is configured here in this particular call flow, the architecture is a little bit different. Here the logic is not, all the logic is not done by Dialogflow. You are driving the flow from here, so it is done in 2 steps. When you use df intent, you have to configure TTS, ASR and Dialogflow all together. Your TTS and ASR will be configured in your configuration engine. If it is a UCCE, you will be configuring it in new OAMP, and if you are using the PCC, you will be doing in the SPOG UI. So you will be configuring TTS and ASR there, while in case of Dialogflow element, you configure the NLU key also in your UI. While you are using these elements, you need to put your Dialogflow key in CVP. So where you need to put it is you need to put it in the C Cisco CVP conf folder, and there you need to put your authentication key JSON file, and from here Call Studio will read this and it will execute the operation in two different phases. So when you use DF intent element, it will first do the recognition of your input. So let's say your prompt which you have given for this particular element will be first played, how can I help you, and after this the recognition will start. So your audio will be streamed to the recognition engine. In this case it will be, let's say, Google ASR. So Google ASR will do the speech to text conversion, and based on your hint it will give you the text, and that text will then be sent to Dialogflow by VXML server, and then you will get the intent which you will process from here. So it is happening in these two phases, and once you process your intent, after processing the intent, if you are generating some new text, so let's say in this case you are generating some text which may be coming from Dialogflow, or you are generating something locally. Let's say in this case you are giving the balance of the customer, your balance is something something, then for this you need to engage the text to speech, and by using the text to speech you can synthesize this. So here it is happening, as I mentioned, in three phases. First is you are doing the speech to text conversion by using ASR. Then from VXML server you are sending the request to Dialogflow and getting the response back in form of text, and that text you are using as a text to speech engine separately, and then you're synthesizing it to the customer, and this flow keeps going on, and you drive the flow by writing your Call Studio application. So this gives you lots of liberty, lots of control over what you want to ask the customer. If you have your local database, or if you have your local CRM API which you want to integrate, then this is the best way for you to integrate your Call Studio application. Another way of, apart from these two elements, there is another way of using CVA, that is by using the transcribe element. So transcribe element where you can use for just doing the speech to text conversion. So in this, most of the parameter what you saw for DialogflowParam and DialogflowIntent are common. Input mode you have no input, max no input, no match, speech confidence, termination character to terminate the input, phrase hints, alternate languages if you want to detect the language of the customer, and these are not used. So by using this element you can do this, just the speech to text conversion, and then if you want to integrate with anything else other than Dialogflow, any other NLP engine, or if you want to do some other processing, you can do using this recognition engine.